Outlander is one of the most popular TV shows currently on the air. Adapted from the best-selling book series by Diana Gabaldon, it has gained a loyal fan base of millions around the world. With 6 seasons and a 7th and 8th on the horizon, it catapulted its actors like Sam Heughan and Katrina Balfe into superstardom. This seems to be a pretty good thing. A great thing, even. However, as actors, there are some pretty strict rules that they're forced to follow on set. Some of these rules make us wonder if it's all worth it. Especially this first one. Say goodbye to a proper, regular sleep schedule. Outlander's production team strives for authenticity in every way they can. Thanks to this drive, the production decided against shooting during the day and hiring editors to make it look like nighttime. Nope, they chose instead to do night shots, meaning that actors are now forced to shoot all hours of the night. This had a few more benefits for the production. It meant that they could not only get bragging rights and claim authenticity, but they also saved money on the editors required to make day for night happen. But this, of course, is not fun for the actors. They had to become night owls. This was the only way that they could get through the long shooting days and bring their best selves to the set. Which didn't just impact them, it impacted their whole lives. Actors have even missed fan meetups thanks to the fact that they were booked on night shoots. The strange hours have probably impacted their personal lives as well. And to make matters worse, production would often have it so that they were shooting both day and night, meaning that actors will need to be ready to go for an entire day before shooting into the night. When this happens, actors have 2 options. Either get a couple of hours of sleep, which wouldn't be great sleep anyway, or stay up until all the shooting is done. Most of the time, it seems they choose to grab a coffee and wait it out. Katrina talked about this when she was asked what advice she'd give her pre-series self. She said, "Get sleep. You're never going to sleep again." I'm sure her castmates would agree. Rule number 2 is learn to be okay with the cold. Shooting at night is already a recipe for chilly temperatures, but when you add in Outlander's flair for the dramatics, with the freezing winds and rains, plus production's preference for remote locations with no electricity, well, let's just say you should be prepared to be cold on the set of Outlander. Unlike the crew, the cast doesn't get the luxury of wearing heat-retaining clothes due to the costume department's desire for authenticity. Instead, the cast members are forced to wear authentic 1700s clothes. Along with that, a little bad weather would not stop the production from moving forward. There are stories of how the show continued to shoot despite the weather, much to the discomfort of the cast. In one scene, it was raining, which meant that in between shots, production would be wiping water off of props and fixing the actors' makeup. The actors were just expected to pretend that everything was fine. It was a beautiful day to have a picnic. On a different day, a cameraman had to put the camera down due to the fact that he couldn't feel his fingers thanks to the cold. Now, just imagine how cold the actor was that day. The third rule was to be ready for a lot of kissing. If Outlander is known for one thing, it's the show's steamy scenes. The entire show hinges on the passionate love story between Claire and Jamie, and that's what fans tune in for every week. It's what they expect. So being okay with doing these scenes is an absolute must for the actors. According to actors like Sam and Katrina, who have a considerable amount of intimate scenes together, these scenes can be intensely awkward to shoot. Imagine this. You're cold, you may as well be naked, and you're in front of all your coworkers, pretending to get hot and heavy with another one of your coworkers. Yeah, that's the reality these actors are living with. But there's another aspect of this that isn't often talked about. In the first season, the cast and crew hadn't been working together long enough to become friends, yet they were shooting these scenes together. By now, they've been working together for almost a decade, and much of the crew has stayed on for much of the 7 seasons, meaning that they're good friends and have been through a lot together at this point. Which one is more awkward? Doing this with someone you don't know in front of a bunch of people you don't know? Or doing this with someone you know quite well, who you'd call a friend in a room full of your friends? Either way, it sounds embarrassing and awkward. On top of that, the actors have talked at length about their modesty garments, which are pieces of cloth used to cover their private areas. In an interview, Sam recounted an embarrassing incident where he dropped his into the urinal, and the entire cast and crew found out over the intercom. Knowing how strange and awkward it can be may disappoint some fans, but that awkwardness has never translated to the screen for the audience. It goes to show how brilliant these actors really are at their jobs. Rule number 4. Authenticity is the most important thing. We've made references several times by now that the Outlander team is dedicated to making the show as authentic as possible. This means that the actors have to learn as much as they can about the world in which their characters live, which means studying up on the 1700s. But it seems to have worked. The actors have commented that learning about the time period has led to more authentic performances. They're also required to wear authentic 1700s clothing. This is always a good thing for the show, but it can be a pain for the actors. Literally. 18th century clothing, especially clothing for women, is not known for being comfortable. Corsets especially. All of the female cast members are required to wear corsets, including Katrina. Lucky Sam only has to wear a kilt. But luckily, Katrina has said that wearing the corset helps her get into character and that she thinks of the corset as a way to connect to what it really was like to be a woman back then. Katrina was also required to learn a few surgical techniques to keep her performance as authentic as possible. The production hired a medical advisor who was affectionately nicknamed Dr. Claire to help with that. All of this really just goes to show how dedicated these actors are. Rule number 5. Getting on social media. Social media is an absolute must for any big TV star nowadays, and the cast of a hit show like Outlander is certainly no exception. They're required to have their own social media accounts so the production team can use them to promote the show. This is on top of the various media appearances they have to make. One of the many things they do online is the occasional Q&A session, where they interact directly with fans. Out of everything on this list, you may be thinking, this sounds pretty easy. However, this can be pretty hard on the star's health. Katrina and Sam have both spoken about the toll that social media has taken on their mental health. And it seems that when people have an issue with the show, they're the ones that people attack. They're just the actors. They have no control over the writing of the show. Katrina has stated outright that she doesn't think that social media is good for mental health and that she's taken a step back as much as she can. It sucks for us a bit, but it's good that she's taking care of herself. After all, it's that one negative comment in a sea of positive comments that can completely ruin your day. So, from being forced to wear uncomfortable clothes to stripping down naked in front of your coworkers, these are the strict rules that the Outlander cast is forced to follow on set.